Hi, I'm Peggy with Portraits by Peggy, and we are going to have some fun today. So today we're here with John, and he is a director, he is a teacher, you have a book out, you do quite a bit of things. I actually found you on Facebook. You had a quote up on your Facebook, and it said, and I'll probably mess up the quote, but it basically said, in a headshot, your face is the landscape and the expression in your eye is the special effects. And I just went, oh my God, I love that. So I said, are these your words, and can I steal them? I'll give you credit for the first couple of years and then they'll be mine. No.
I didn't read the fine print.
Yeah. But yeah.
The quote is, your face is the landscape and the special effects are the emotions in your eyes.
And that's so true, being a headshot photographer, I have this much to work with. I was a portrait photographer for years, and so you have, hands and, body positions and all this to work with. But as a headshot photographer, you've got this much, and the only thing that matters is the expression in someone's eye. And those eyes have to catch a casting director's attention. You could be the best actor in the world, but if you don't catch a casting director's attention, he'll never know it.
Right.
So...
and the other quote I think that we had talked about along those lines was that often when people are doing headshots, they're looking through a lens of a camera, so it creates a cinematic effect in their eyes.
Uh-huh.
But when they're doing a scene with somebody, because they're trying to make a connection, that cinematic effect goes away because they're making a connection with the person, trying to be real, trying to be connected, trying to have a relationship, and that wonderful cinematic effect that we see in headshots goes away. And so I will tell actors, when you're playing a scene with somebody in an audition, see if you can, when you're looking at them, imagine you're looking through a lens of a camera, and then you'll get that same emotional effect. Because sometimes that effect will be there. The actor will walk into the audition, or they'll submit a self-tape, and the casting director will look at it and say, it's not the headshot.
Because when I'm taking someone's headshot, I talk them through it. We get that emotion going. And I'm like, look deep into the lens, give me what you got, blah, blah, blah. So when they're auditioning, they need to be hearing those words and imagining the person they're looking at as that to pull that emotion into their eyes. That's great.
Yeah, and I think the thing for actors is they're so trained to connect with each other and be real, and they feel if you talk to them about the lens and looking through a lens and how to make your headshot represented in your audition, they kind of get nervous because they want to do all the keeping it real and making contact the way they were taught to do, and they have a very hard time getting those two things to work together.
Right.
They think they're mutually exclusive, and they're not. They're actually very compatible.
And because that expression in their headshot is what caught the casting director's eye to start with. That's what they liked about you to start with.
Exactly.
So when you get to the audition, not only should you look like your headshot, but you should be able to bring that emotion, bring your whole game.
Right.
I like that.
Right.
I like that. That's a great tip.
Where were we?
You were going to tell me something earth-shattering.
I was.
Yeah. I know it. I felt it.
Oh my gosh. How do I choose? Earth-shattering. Along the same lines we were talking about before.
Yeah.
You'll have to ask me a question if you want something earth-shattering.
Okay.
How about that?
So, you've been in the industry for a while. How did you get involved in the industry, and what you've done more than one thing. So how did that progression happen for you?
Well, actually, I started out I wasn't really involved in the industry, and then a lot of friends that I knew were actors, and they wanted me to run lines with them, typical. And then that led to them asking me for notes or direction or, what's your opinion,
Right.
kind of thing. And then I started directing plays based on that. People started asking me to direct plays if they were very character-driven plays, that kind of thing. And then I had developed a reputation for being good with actors. And then a movie was being made, a small movie, 3 actors, called The Big Kahuna. And because I had a reputation of working well with actors, they asked me to do that.
Yeah.
And on the first day of shooting, I looked through the camera and I saw the actor on camera, and I wasn't seeing something interesting. So I came up with a direction that wasn't particularly relevant to the script or the story, what we're doing, but I knew that I could talk to the actor in such a way that the actor doing the role and the character would really sort of pop more.
Right.
And then I gave the direction, and I watched the actor, and I thought, and I saw this transformation that was just really uncanny, and I thought, wow, I think I really understand something about the film camera. I think I have an instinct for this, for developing performances. And so I kind of went on a quest from then on there to figure out how the film frame works, how the film camera works, see if I could understand how to create film performances from a camera-centric point of view versus an actor-centric point of view. And then from there, I just started, I started writing. I have a column for Backstage. I started doing a lot of social media and creating the YouTube videos, and it sort of seems to have gone from there.
Yeah. And that's really, I completely understand what you mean, because I was always interested in cameras as a kid, and I grew up, but there's, just because we all use that tool doesn't mean we all have the same gifts with that camera. Right. And for me, early on, I realized I had a knack for pulling out people's personality, and if they were nervous in front of the camera or whatever it may be, I had that knack of just getting their attention, calming them down, and getting the emotion that I wanted out of that. Right. And so with video, of course, I feel like that's way out of my league. That's not my thing. This is just kind of my side gig to kind of get information to these awesome actors that I work with. But with still pictures, that's and I think that I know that when you come to my studio, I'm always telling you, think about your posture, think about your body type, so you know how to present yourself to the camera. But the thing I don't ever talk about is what you talk about, is how to connect, how to show the emotion. Like, I can make your body physically look good in front of the camera, but these are great tips on, your body should look nice, even in a candid, when you technically don't know people are out there, but there's cameras everywhere. You can be conscious of how you're standing, your posture, all these things. But what you have is amazing, and I've never heard anybody else talk about it. And that is how to make sure that emotion comes across. And that, I think, is so important, because even if I can get you in a room, these headshots get you in a room and you don't know how to book it, right. We're still failing.
Well, first of all, I think that video is a natural extension for you from headshots, especially if you're dealing with how the actor is composed in the frame. Right. That's another big oversight they have, is they don't understand the aesthetics of the frame. Right. It's okay to carry your body in a certain way in the frame and to look a certain way. And it's not going to be disingenuous. It's not going to be fake. And that's their big concern, is if they actually compose their performances for the film camera the way a film actor does, that they're going to be fake, because it's not just happening spontaneously. Right. And that really worries them. Right.
And it's not. And that's what I tell people. It doesn't have to be fake. Setting up straight and knowing how your body looks, versus being like this. I just added 30 pounds.
Right, exactly.
And
exactly.
Versus setting up. It's the little things, and what you're saying is it's the little things with how you express your emotion, and I think that's just amazing.
Well, and the other thing is, I'll always, when I'm working with an actor, I see the script as an element of a performance, whereas I think actors are trained that the script is the destination, and everything is to service the script, and I see that the script serves the performance, the on-camera performance. So I take a very camera-centric approach to things, and getting the emotion from the actor through the eyes, through the expression. I find that it's more difficult to get when the actor is just being obsessed with working on the script. And instead, the character is inside the actor, and we have to use the script to unlock the character that's inside the actor.
So when you said that, this is exactly what I thought. You should be able to watch a clip with no volume and know what that clip is about. So what you said is absolutely true. The script is not the main thing.
It's an element, an extremely important
Exactly.
element.
Exactly.
But it's an element
But-
towards a performance.
But when you turn off, when you turn off the volume, is that character still there? Do you still know what that character is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remind actors and aspiring filmmakers too that the film camera itself was designed as a silent film medium. It
That's
was designed to capture character without dialogue. And if a performance can survive being watched back with the volume muted, and you still see a character, you know you've got a character. Or the other thing I'll tell actors is, imagine your character at Starbucks standing in line ordering coffee. If we recognize your character ordering coffee at Starbucks just as much as we recognize them in the scene, then you've got a character.
Exactly.
Or I'll say to them, imagine those movies where there's 30 to 40 seconds of what they call MOS, where the actor's just living in their world while there's opening credits, and by the end of those opening credits, we know exactly who the character is before a line of dialogue has ever been uttered.
Right.
And getting actors to understand that, capturing the character, that it's inside of them, and how to bring it to the frame before they ever start talking about dialogue. Because that's the way filmmakers think, storytellers think. We start with character.
That's true.
Right.
That's true. So what I want to talk about your Facebook. You're on Instagram. You're on Facebook. You're on YouTube.
Not on Instagram yet,
You're
but
not
I will
on
be in a
Instagram.
few
Okay.
months. I will be
Okay.
in a few months.
So you are. I know. I found you on Facebook, and you also have YouTube. And I see notifications all the time. You're uploading. You're uploading. You're uploading.
Right.
So you give tips all the time, and I always try to catch them because they're always like, oh my God, that's awesome. And it's usually, I don't have to spend 20 minutes reading it. People get my vlog once a week and they're like, another hour-long video, Peggy. But you just give some really good nuggets. What do you think people, what is some of the stuff that you've gotten the most feedback on?
Well, I published something I created called Clever Actor Tips, and it was as a result of Twitter, because you had 140 characters, and I wanted to be able to communicate something poignant, ideally inspiring, and maybe even entertaining to read in 140 characters. So I came up with this idea of Clever Actor Tips. Clever Actor Tip number 1, Clever Actor Tip number 2, etc. And those became very popular.
Yeah.
Those were very, very popular. And I have a couple hundred now.
Yeah.
When I have 365, I'll start a desktop calendar and calendar
Yeah.
app.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
But I also have a backstage column. I write for Backstage.
Uh-huh.
As you mentioned, my first book's out now, and then every year for the next 4 years, 4 or 5, I'm going to write and publish another book.
Another
Now,
book.
They're shortish books, although I
Uh-huh.
consider them packed with cinematic power. But
So this book will be available when?
it's available as an ebook now on Amazon and iTunes, and it'll be available as a paperback end of the calendar year.
So they can go to Amazon or iTunes and
Yes.
they can get this right
Yes,
now.
yes,
So we'll
yes.
put a link below for that.
Yeah.
Perfect. So what do you hope what's your favorite part of this book? Like what's the little hidden nugget that we should look for? What do you think is like, or is it just too much? Like because I think of your clever tips, I think that in a book you just probably have so many little hidden golden nuggets in there.
Well, I do. It's 25 pages.
Yeah.
But each page is a separate individual technique, and I designed it in such a way that you could use it. I wanted to create a playbook. I didn't.
Uh-huh.
When I first decided to write the book, because people had been bugging me for years, you should write something, and I researched how many books there were in acting, and there were 1,500 at
Wow.
the time available on Amazon. And I didn't want to write a book that was a lot of theory. I wanted to write something very practical. That's a lot of what I try to do with my work, and what I try to communicate is, can I communicate something to actors and directors where they can implement the idea
Right.
fairly quickly without it being a lot of things they have to figure out. So I wanted to create a playbook where
Uh-huh.
actors and directors could be on set and say, what does John say about the close-up? What does John say about commanding the camera? How do I create character? And be able to read it and apply in very simple steps and get a cinematic result, a really interesting cinematic result right away.
So what I've realized working with actors is that they go to acting school and they learn theory and they learn how to do all these things, but they're not taught a lot of practical stuff.
Right.
And so they come into my studio, we do these amazing headshots, and then they look at me and they say, now what do I do? And I'm like, that's one of the reasons why we do these vlogs, is because I get that so much is, now what?
Right.
And it's like, what do you mean now what? And they really don't know.
Right.
They don't know how to market themselves. They don't know how to, you know, what they're supposed to do, especially if they're starting out. They don't have an agent yet. And a lot of people that even have an agent still are like, okay, they just literally give it all to their agent, and they don't do anything, you know, themselves.
Yes.
And they don't realize that, you know, yeah, they have an agent, but it's still their business. They still have to, you know, do things.
Yeah, we've all been impacted by
Yeah.
the digital revolution,
Right.
and we all have to be much more hands-on in getting our message out there and
Right.
communicating. You know this, I know this, and they need to think of it the same way.
Mhm.
And I know that a lot of actors feel hassled by it. They don't want to do all the social media. They don't
Right.
want to do all of the administration.
Right.
They want to be creative, and the administration allows them to be creative, allows them to communicate, obviously, but they're sort of overwhelmed by it because
Right.
they're not used to being proactive, because
Right.
their idea is that someone will direct me and tell me where to go, or the writer will tell me what to do,
Yeah.
but they have to be.
They have to be.
All of us have to be, obviously.
And you know, I'm a photographer, so I would lump myself into the creative side. And I hate paperwork. I hate social media, you know. But it's one of those things.
Yeah.
It's like you have to do it. I mean, when I first started getting on Facebook regularly, I would set alarms in my phone that would say, "Okay, social media." So I would go in, and you know, until it became a habit, because
Yeah.
I was just like,
No, it's,
you know,
it's
but you know, you have to. Otherwise, no one. You could be the best, but no one's going to see you. No one's going to, you know.
right.
You know, and I see in my profession, there's tons of horrible photographers that are making lots of money because, you know, the squeaky
Right.
wheel gets oil. And I also watch things on TV, and I'm like, how did they even book that? You know, and so you know, you have to be proactive and get out, because there are enough parts out there. There are enough things out there. You just have to get out there and find the role for
Right.
you. And
Yeah, I really do believe that any actor who wants to, who really is willing to do what it takes, can have a career in the business.
Uh-huh.
You know, on camera somehow, or in the business in general,
Right.
if they apply the right things. But comes hard. It's difficult for them.
Yeah.
It doesn't come easy for them to
Right.
do that.
And that's okay. I mean, when you're self-employed, not every aspect has to be easy. That's why they call it work. And I know us creative people think we get to play all day and get paid, which we do. I love getting behind the
Sure.
camera. But there are things I have to do that I don't necessarily like all the time, and it's okay.
Yeah, you know, the other thing I think some actors, they feel that if they're a really good actor, they should be able to do just the work, and the world's going to discover them, the world's going to find
Yeah.
them, and isn't it really just about the work? And it's absolutely not
No.
just about the work.
No, it's
One
not.
allows the other to happen.
Exactly, because you can see that. You can look on TV and go, wow. Because that person that's doing terrible acting, that's getting paid thousands of dollars, worked for it.
Right.
And the other actor that would have been brilliant in that role
Right.
didn't put in the work.
Yeah.
And so that's really.
So anyway, so that was what the book was
Yeah.
about. I really, you know, I didn't want a lot of theory. I didn't want a lot of thinking going on.
I like that.
I really wanted them to say, oh, here's the situation I find myself in. How do I get a good performance now in that situation?
Exactly.
So that's what that book did, and the others will be along the same
The
lines.
same lines.
Yeah.
So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you follow these links below. Follow him on all of his social media. Now, do you teach classes, or is it all video classes, or do people come in and
No, I
do
teach.
classes?
I mean, I'm often called a director. I'm referred to as a writer, author. I see myself very much, if I can say this, as a cinematic explorer and philosopher and poet. And I really am trying to communicate a message to the world about creating in the film frame and creating cinematically and from a camera-centric perspective. And my company, Blue Swan Films, is really a place where I can communicate that message in different forms: classes, live events, YouTube videos, social media, backstage call-ins. All these different ways I write, I direct, I teach are just ways to communicate a message.
Mm-hmm.
When people say to me, why do you teach, why do you direct, why do you write? I'm just trying to communicate a message.
Yeah.
And those are just different ways I can do it.
Perfect. So I know I have a lot of people that ask me, hey, do you recommend anybody? And I'm right now I'm recommending you, because I get so much, as a photographer, I get so much out of your stuff that's helpful for me.
Great.
And I'm able to pass on to other people. But some of the things you say, like, click with me, and I go, oh, I can apply that to headshots. Oh, I can apply that to, you know, so you have a lot of, I like that you said a poet, because you do. It's very. It's all those epiphanies. You read that and you're like, "Ah, yes. You have a very good way. I like the way you see the world. I like the way you see film. I like the way you see the industry, and the way you communicate it is easy for me to understand. So I assume it's easy for a lot of people.
That's my goal.
Yeah, because like it just makes sense to me. You know, I was raised. My dad always said things like, "Think. Does that make sense?" And so I base my life on think. Does that make sense? And every time I read something you write, it's like, oh, that makes sense.
That's fine.
So I really appreciate you taking the time to drive out here
you.
and join us today.
Thank you.
So do you want to leave our viewers with anything else? Any last words?
May the frame be with you.
There you go. Thanks a lot. I
Thank you.
appreciate it,
Thank
John.
you.
Make sure, if you haven't, that you go to my YouTube and you subscribe, share, leave me comments, and I'll see you next week. I think that was pretty successful.
Cool.
Awesome.
I'm glad.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was a pleasure. It was an honor.
So today I'm here with John. Let's do it again. Swan.
Like
Okay.
the swan.
Swan. Okay. I'm making it more difficult than it is. Today I'm here with John Swanbeck. I almost got it right?
Swanbeck.
Swan.
Like the graceful, elegant swan.
Like, I'm trying to make you the Swanson man.
That's okay.
Trying to get ice cream out of this
Swanbeck.
deal. So today I'm here with John Swan. Okay, forget it.
You can keep.
I'm
all
going
of
to
those.
just say
you
John.
You can keep all of those in there.
I
And that
will.
way they'll remember my
know.
name by the end.
Exactly.
'Cause
By the end, they'll know
Swanbeck,
exactly who
Swanbeck.
you are.
I like it.
Say your last name for me.
Swanbeck.
Swanbeck. Swanbeck.
Swanbeck.
Beck.
It's Swedish.
Swanbeck. Okay.
It's Swedish.
Swedish.
You have some Swedish in you.
So I just did the DNA test.
You did.
And you know, I always thought I was like well over 50% German. It turns out I'm really not, but I am all Northern European.